Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So what I like to do is, I've been working with Dr. Chandran for a long time, and wanna give you guys a different angle. I listened to a couple of the lectures and talk about ethics from disruptive technology angle and show you hopefully something new that you haven't read about. So my background, I've been in semiconductor and systems. That's what I've done. I graduated from AlphaGo long time ago, and then started in the local high tech. Some of you may not even remember these names. The BNR was um, a very prestigious place to work in Ottawa. It was like there was two of them, BNR in Canada and Bell Labs in US. They were equivalent, I would say, Google, Tesla, Meta, and hyperscalers today. Um, then I moved around in Ottawa. I started my first startup with two friends. I was the CTO of a company called Skystone. It was acquired by Cisco in 97, and it was their first acquisition outside US. So this was the first acquisition. So as you may know, Cisco is based in San Jose, and then through that acquisition, uh, I got to know Silicon Valley culture and how that thing operates. I stayed there in Cisco for 3, 4 years, and then in there, I was working with the sites in US and Israel. Then got to know two friends and did a bit of venture capital. Honestly, it was very boring, because if you have entrepreneurship, is doing a VC is very hard. Then, I started another company called Cortina System with two other founders. We had multiple sites, in Taiwan, Bangalore, and China, in Beijing and Shanghai. So after that, Cortina was acquired by Inphi. I stayed there, and then the part that I have highlighted, I lived in the Valley. And then, because of family reasons, I came back to Ottawa right now. As Chanarang said, I'm doing the business development. So, what I've done is I spend a lot of time on technology, mostly chips and systems. As you guys know, semiconductor is becoming extremely important. So, what I'd like to do today is give you guys an example of how to look at disruptive technology and maybe, from the previous lecture I watched, the question you guys asked was amazing, and I know you're very experienced. And then hear your insight in terms of your questions and what you think about this. So, um, I wanted to start with this thing that basically clearly says the difference we have with other animals, we make tools. And technology, any technology you look at, it's a tool at the same time as a weapon. And this goes back to, I think, as long as we can look at, it has been always like that. So, advanced technologies, when you look at them at first, they may be not looking that promising or maybe, not that impactful. So I thought the best example is the Wright's brother. So 1903, and the first flight was 120 feet in 12 seconds. And two people who had a bike shop and repairing bicycles came up with this. And as you can see, he's laying down here for this flight. And then, obviously they become Same way, advanced technologies become tools and weapons, and it changes like that. Now, so one idea is that any new technology is obviously tool and weapon. The other one is uh, technologies have this thing in them that are creative destruction. Um, and I'm curious, actually, Dr. Chan, did you cover Joseph Schumpeter in the class?
No, not no.
Okay. So this is the economist, as you can see on the right-hand side. So what basically he looked at capitalism, but I think it's really much more than capitalism. It's really anything we do in terms of technology, it comes as a creative destruction. So basically, it destroys the way we did things and comes up with something new. It replaces it completely. So we look at technologies and then tools and weapons, and then it's creative destruction. And to give you another good example, if you look at, for example, a technology that is enabled shipping for transatlantic transportation. So if you look at that technology, it obviously was extremely beneficial in certain ways because we start exploring the planet Earth, and then, but it was extremely destroying to indigenous populations of America and Australia. So if you look at technologies, I want to make the case that they're always like that. They're open, and then they are also at the same time very destructive. Um, so that's two angle. The third angle is what is the growth rate of the technology? Is it growing linearly or exponentially? And to be honest with you, I think one of the reasons we don't, to anybody who has basic math, this looks very obvious. So what I want to show is if you look at X as a unit of time, for example, in Moore's law, in the semiconductor business, the unit of time was 2 years. So the way semiconductor grew after 50 years, so that's 25 times 2. If it was linear, it would be, let's say 2x would have been 50x. If it's 2 to the x, as you can see, is 33 million. So, and as you can see, if you go to the 30 to the 40, the number is just, not sustainable. If you go to the 50 to the 60, it just like blows up. So then you look at technologies, you see tools and weapons, creative destruction, and then you look at it, you say how they are growing exponentially or not. So I came through Moore's law. This is what happened in my career. Obviously, I'm not that old to be in 1971, but later on, I joined the semiconductor, let's say, curve in 1985. So, and as I just wanted to give an example, I've kept this to 2021, 1971 to keep the 50 years. And in Moore's law, is 18 months, 2 years, it's a noise. But if you look at Moore's law, what happened was the transistors capacity of these chips went from obviously 2,000 transistors suddenly to 75 billion. And anything you touch today on technology somehow comes to Moore's law. Whatever you look at, anything actually, your fridge, your display, your TV, your cell phone, anything, your car, anything you do, the reason, for example, Tesla can do self-driving, sort of, is because of Moore's law. If you take this out, a lot of things disintegrates, the whole AI just disappears, if you didn't have this. So the question is, one question would be is why we don't see it clearly while we are riding this wave. And I think one of the reasons is that I'm going to stop sharing because I just want to show you two things and then go back to sharing. So you see, I wanted to show you an iPhone 1 and iPhone 16. So I don't know if it's clear, but if you can see iPhone 1, you can't even see the camera. It's like a dot, the displays, everything. Because exponentials, what we do in our mind is always compare iPhone 16 maybe to iPhone 15. So, not much changed. We never go back and look at 10, 15, 20 years and look at something. And the same way with everything we do. So exponential growth doesn't show as we want to see it. Okay. Is slide back on, isn't it?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. So then we go from Moore's law to, a iPhone. iPhone was introduced in 2007. As you guys have heard all these stories, it's been quite disruptive. Then, there was a couple of key technologies in iPhones. So if you look at the name iPhone, it actually has nothing to do with the phone. That's creative destruction. So the name is the phone, but what it is, it's a mobile computing device. It has obviously, LTE services, Wi-Fi connectivity. It has a really fast GPU, CPU cameras, apps, GPS location, access to a massive cloud computer, and then integrated sensors. Like these are some of the key technologies embedded in it. And then as soon as you look at the technology, at the same time, ethical issues show up. See, so smartphones impact attention spans. So right away, you get one. You go ding, that's one. Social media, apps, mental health. The internet, just connectivity in general with your privacy, with our privacy. Maps, with the spatial awareness. Batteries with all this mining in Africa and all the injustices which is done to get these lithium niobate batteries done. Not having access to some of these iPhones and all these advances, you have educational divide, biometrics and surveillance. See, so as soon as you look at advanced technology, suddenly all these ethical stuff show up. Now, then, you look at the same technology. So if you are, let's say, a taxi driver, let's just take one, place which is very known for it is London. If you guys follow it, it has been, they studied a lot to pass these exams. It's a very difficult topic. They had to do a lot of work. Their livelihood was the license for the taxi, and all of it got destroyed. See, so if you look at it, semiconductor comes in, you talk transistors, and then you're driving a taxi, and in 1980, you listen to the radio, and somebody says, "Oh, transistors are getting better." And you're driving a taxi and say, "Oh, that's nothing to do with me. Transistors, I'm giving a ride." And the creative destruction and displacement suddenly, completely turned this thing upside down. Then what semiconductor did, which was extremely important, that, it created these massive computers. So these massive compute engines, which we call data centers, and the data centers are really software sitting on a compute engine. And then sophisticated, algorithms running on it. So you have algorithms, massive compute, and a lot of data for training. And, I'm not going to bore you guys with the difference between the way we do machine learning and then the way we did programming before, which I'm sure you guys are well aware. So that new model came in, and then what happened is, I don't know actually how many of you have watched this documentary in Netflix. I don't know if it's any way to see show of hands. Let me see, chat. Is it possible if you can just type in if you have seen AlphaGo documentary on Netflix?
Yeah, just put in the chat then. I can count.
Okay, so then I know how much to say. Okay, no, okay, okay.
Mostly no.
No, okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay, excellent. So, okay, so I don't feel like I'm boring you. Okay, so you see, DeepMind, if you guys don't know, it's a division of, it was an independent company in UK. Then it got acquired to uh, Google, and
Mhm.
it stayed independent. So it's called Google DeepMind. Obviously, a bunch of scientists, and they created this, let's say, uh, machine learning software, or if you want to consider it, is let's call it sophisticated software that was trained in a number of games. And for example, beat chess and everything is just like gaming everything it won. Then the last stop was the game of Go that is very popular in Asia. It's the most sophisticated game. This game has been played for, you know, hundreds of years. So it's really a simple game, but extremely difficult in terms of strategy. And this gentleman in the right, Lee Sedol, is the world champion at that time. And the Google engineers thought that, they would train this massive computer and they would go against him. And honestly, I think if you watch the documentary, they say, well, we had no idea that we can beat him. We thought it's going to be extremely difficult and it's going to take a couple of years of, tuning this. So they got it up and running. And then wow, Bill Penn says, I watched the 5 games live. Wow, fantastic. If look at it, I mean, it's what 250 million people watch that. It's just unbelievable popularity. It's like I don't know, a championship league game, soccer or Super Bowl equivalent in Asia. So once it did it, AlphaGo won 4-1. Lisa Dahl is a smoker, walks outside and looks at the camera and says, I have never seen creativity like this. And that's this moment is where ChatGPT and all these companies were born. If you all this stuff you see in AI, which is making a lot of news, if you go back to where they were triggered to make a company, all comes out from this. OpenAI was one of them, and there's a number of them. This was the moment when Lee Sedol lost to DeepMind. So then you look at this at that time. So what does that mean? That means if you look at any problem that is bounded, so game is a bounded, chess, for example, there is some rules. There is limited things you can do. It's bounded. It's very sophisticated, but there is a bounded. And you are playing against a sophisticated algorithm, call it machine learning or whatever we can. Just let's call them sophisticated algorithms. You have a lot of training data and you have a massive computer. There is absolutely no chance to beat it, isn't it? That's basically came up. from that in 2016 came in that he says, if you play chess against these, even the world champions today train on these software. Poker players have software expertise now. It's not just like go and just play poker. It's just all about statistics and software. So then what happened through this? Now imagine what happens now let's look at the ethical side. So we go on social media. What this picture beautifully shows is a digital footprint that we leave. The digital footprint through all these combination of algorithm, compute, big data knows your personality, knows your values, income, ideology, intelligence, ethnicity, and you can read the rest. See? So what happened at that moment, suddenly you got these massive computer because of semiconductors. You got these algorithms that, are sophisticated software, and then you got the compute. And that's what happens. So now when you are on the web, you are just basically constantly, we are all of us living this, ethnicity, income, everything is we are living. Gender, if you're depressed, if you have any disease, we're just leaving footprints, which then comes to all these ethical issues. So then we go, again, I don't know how many of you have seen Sandra Matt's presentation. And if you follow the 2016 election in US, if you guys recall, there was a lot of, is these things. So what happened is her PhD was about two things. The PhD was about how can you use the digital footprint that people leave in the web and guess their personality as if you're a colleague, friend, family member, or spouse. And that's what she concluded. And then, she has a lot of examples how easy it is to detect that. And then Cambridge Analytica worked with her on the PhD and basically realized a very simple algorithm that you can use to alter votes of people who are sitting in the middle, like independent. They may vote right or left, So you start manipulating that. So then what happened out of that came in, who owns that data? Who owns that data? Now, from there, I have one hand up. Is one hand? I see one hand up,
Yeah,
Chandra.
I think it's a question from
Question.
Papa.
Go ahead, Papa. He's still on mute, isn't it?
Yeah, he's mute. Are you okay?
Oh, it's gone. Okay.
It's gone. Okay.
Okay. So now, you look at the massive computers, which is owned by hyperscalers. Hyperscalers, as you may know, is like Amazon, Google, Meta, Microsoft. And then in China, there's Baidu, Tencent, and Alibaba. And then, these guys have a lot of data. And all the data is basically telling them, like, anything we do is in these platform companies. Imagine like what you watch is clearly known. What are you buying? And what are you looking for? Who do you want to be? What are you eating? Who are you looking for? Reading, working, like health habit. Every data is owned by hyperscalers. For example, it's scary that the data from Uber can be used to know a lot of information about a person. For example, there is an interesting paper if Uber would know if you are having an affair by your ride characteristics. You see what I mean? So imagine like how powerful these algorithms are. Anything you talk about, obviously, is very well known, and location with the mobile device. So, and I think you see this well present in the Israeli and Lebanon and all that. That's exactly the play. Who owns the platforms is winning everything. So that's exactly what's going on there. Smart TVs being monitored and all that. So then you go from there. Now, China realized this way earlier. China said, oh, geez, we don't want to just give all this data to US. We want to control it ourselves. So if you look at it, these platform companies, they develop like almost superpower capability for the countries. So whoever has this type of platforms that are controlled globally can also do complete information, misinformation, control, monitoring, everything. So as you can see, these platforms are very powerful. So in China, obviously there is those of you that have been in China, very smart people, extremely hardworking, and it's obvious that they are easily either on par or catching up very fast. So and if you look at, for example, all the tension between US and China regarding Taiwan is with respect to one key company, which is called TSMC, which is basically one of the main fabrication facilities for semiconductors in the world. Like, again, if you look at your laptop, cell phone, fridge, car, most likely it comes from that fab. So countries own that. Then what happens? See, then because of these disruptive technologies, you start impacting socially destructive technologies. So what does that become? So the statement, government of the people, by the people, for the people, it becomes completely useless, because what the platforms are doing, basically making this not relevant, because we can from here impact Russia election. Russia from there can impact our elections. So then you can't say government of the people, by the people, for the people. Those days are over. So a disruptive technology comes in, and suddenly changes the way we do things. Now you may say, okay, let's look ahead, shaping, let's just look ahead and see what's ahead. So what I do always, I look at where the investment dollars are going. Investment dollars, the venture capital, you look at it, you say, okay, where is it going? So as you guys know, you cannot just not have AI in anything. Everything is AI. So AI. So the key one is robotics. Robotics is like a massive investment. Obviously, energy, huge. Anything to do with DNA, that's huge. And crypto, or maybe public blockchain, but it can be cryptocurrency, but it's basically decentralized something. Can be databases to smart contracts to cryptocurrencies. So those are really playing, and obviously AI is tying everything together. For example, if you do drug discovery, you may be doing in this domain with AI. And then if you look at robotics, self-driving, energy, and AI and all that, so all ties together. For example, brain interfaces, that would be here, plus AI, and so on. So then, you look at this and you say, okay, so now we we come back to ethics. So then we basically said, for example, one of the main issues is we're losing our privacy and we don't own the data here. So then what happens? See, disruptive technologies created this problem. For example, you can say, oh, because cell phones, 5G, GPS came in, it created this problem. You know, then ethics, on the other side, people want to solve this problem, another disruptive technology is born. You see what I mean? So it's like I wanted to show like a loop. You see, like you go disruptive technology is creates these ethical problem, and then you go back, then you say, oh, people say, oh, I don't want to have, I want to reserve privacy and data ownership. Then it goes the other way. That's what we do. So then, sorry, I cannot see. Okay, let me maybe read, take a moment to read. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So yeah, we can talk about the power dissipation of these data centers and the, why it's so high. So then, if you look at, for example, impact of social norm, so then maybe decentralized networks are needed. Maybe we have to change, so like now you see Uber takes 30% or whatever the number is, it's pretty high. And all it's doing is putting a driver in contact with somebody who needs a ride. And obviously doing a lot more in terms of infrastructure, but definitely doesn't need 30%. So imagine if you had a crypto type of Web3 type of app that was much less and the value went mostly to the driver or the ride was cheaper or whatever, so that's one way to address that. So that's the key things that possibly drive Web.3. Now, the other thing you see, these problems go back a long time. So this is like the Roman days, and basically the Midas touch was that, we wish for something and we say, wow, I think in this case was, touching things to become gold. But in the person's mind was certain things wanted to turn gold, not everything. But then when the wish is granted, when the daughter comes in, touches the daughter becomes gold, wants to eat something, becomes gold, and he says, oh, no, 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 I don't want those. I just wanted certain things to turn gold. And if you look at social media, it's exactly like this. So if you look at the original thesis of social media was supposed to get us closer together, communicate, share ideas. That was, the Midas touch idea. Then what it turned out, the meanness, the like button, and then all these mental things which are very documented. And I know you guys have read a lot of paper. So suddenly those things show up. Now, then, just to summarize everything. So if you look at it, so in my opinion, the way to look at ethics is really through a technology angle. So think about ethics and say, to understand ethics, you have to understand technology nowadays. And every technology is a tool and weapon and has a multiplication factor, which is dominated by X growth factor. If it's exponential or not, then it has a creative destruction power. So when you look at the technology, it has that power in it. And it's one of these that you can't miss. And there's tons of examples that we can discuss. Then usually the answer is we should have government, we should have global oversight. For example, we should slow down AI. To do that, is, met the government, global insight. But to be honest with you, I think all of them are wishful thinking because the race for technology is race for superiority of nations. So China, US, Europe, South Korea, I mean, there's no way you can just trust that everybody is slowing down. It's not going to happen. So somehow we have to look at the impact and manage this through a bunch of maybe treaties, like the way we did nuclear. We don't blow each other up every day, but a lot of countries have nuclear. We haven't got there. I hope we never get there, but that's type of thing. But not having any nuclear is not possible because they just every country is working on advancement of weapons, and that hasn't slowed down. It's just hidden. And I think advanced technology is like that. And the ethical problems comes in with it is the byproduct. And then the ethic may also drive other type of disruptive technologies. So then, if I look at maybe if you zoom up and you say, okay, what are those big reasons that this thing is being driven? Like why it's almost impossible to make, to slow down this progress. I think one is because we are in search of intelligence. Imagine if once any nation figures out the way creativity is done in a non-organic way, it's just like game over for everybody else. So that's going to keep on going because if you get intelligence, then you can solve any problem. Imagine like you have a massive intelligent thing, it can basically solve any problems that we have. Second one, I think we like creation. If you even look at the religious ideas of God, humans want to be God, that figure, that be able to create. So that DNA, what's our code? How do you create things? That's the second reason. I would say the third reason is we want to control the entire planet, like even control it, like control the weather, control everything in this planet. And the fourth one, maybe like what is it, what's the meaning, why we are here, what's out there. And I think if you look at these four, I would say they're fundamental to driving technology. And then and in the base, we are looking for immortality. I think that's really the fundamental thing as humans we are looking for. So then, given that, technology is going to be continuously progressing. So there's no stop to it. Ethical problems come out as we create new technologies. And one by one, we have to deal with it. There's no universal answer. What we do, government oversight is good, but that's not the answer because it's not global. It's like pollution, isn't it? It's like Canada can do anything they want, but it's a closed system. So you have to control every other country. Otherwise, you cannot reach agreement on what should be, the total type of thing that we do that helps the planet. So in search of immortality, in my opinion, that's really the key driving technology, and it's not going to stop. And I think that's my snapshot. And thank you for your time. And I just see how much time I chose. Okay, 45 minutes. So I just thought maybe I stop and then, and answer any questions or comments or insight you guys have that I can listen to.
Thank you, Hojjat, for your lecture. Now we could start with question and comment. Onu, you go first.
Thank you so much. It was really great to listen to your lecture. You talked about every technology as being a tool and a weapon, and then you mentioned nuclear weapons as well, which reminded me of, during the Cold War, there was this twisted, weird balance between the two superpowers because they both possessed nuclear weapons. So it became what they called, mutually assured destruction. No one can launch a weapon because we're all going to be dead. And I'm thinking if AI can be used as a weapon, and we don't know what the capabilities will be in the next 5 years, 10 years, I'm wondering if at some point that's going to create a new equilibrium. If everybody possesses this weapon, then no one can do anything because there's a threat of, mutually assured destruction again.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a very good observation. I think nuclear energy is definitely a tool, and then nuclear weapons, Uh, so the way, you presented it, yeah. So do we get to a place that, AI is going to be regulated or monitored? Uh, it's completely open some doors that we haven't seen. Like atomic bomb was just much more stronger than some other bomb there was. This one, I would say is the first time we reach some places, possibly, that non-organic things are more powerful, than us. So does it open something completely different? What sort of ethical things show up? What sort of job displacement comes in? Hard to say, honestly. I think it's a lot of guess. Like I give you one example. Like when I was in Silicon Valley in 2000, if you guys remember, mobile had Nokia phones, and it was just coming with, I forgot, 2G or something, and the screen was like barely 1 inch by 1 inch dots. And I remember when I talk to people, they're gonna say, "Oh, mobile is gonna be big." And I remember asking them, I said, "Oh, what is it? I mean, this is just, what do you want to do with this?" "Oh, I don't know, but maybe, HD voice, maybe this, maybe that." And I always was, I think, and then so many years after, it came up as, for example, applications in iPhones, social media, you know, uh, like, for example, Kodak went bankrupt because of Instagram. It's not because of digital transformation. They did a fantastic digital transformation. It's just because Instagram and the screen got better, the need for printing went down. So if you look ahead, what AI is going to do, I think we just don't know, And, there's a lot of talk on AGI and all that. Everybody says within 3 years, maybe very specific knowledge and which job's going to be displaced. For example, right now, one job that everybody picks on is call centers, which is getting impacted because obviously something like ChatGPT can go to any language easily like that, and then has a lot depth knowledge than one person just trying to figure out how Windows or Mac operating system works. So so then there is another one that people picked on, which was radiologists. That one is not impacted at all yet. Uh, and the reason for human interaction has been very important. Um, I saw an article on Wall Street, I think it was a couple of days ago. It says the new millionaires, and it was plumbers and electricians. Because robotics is not going to get there for a long time. So that's what we have to wait for. What would robotic turn out to? As an analogy of year 2000, mobile is going to be big, but everything they said was never those things that they guessed.
Next question from
Yeah.
Patricia. And then next.
Hi. First of all, thank you so much again for the presentation. It's great to listen to these perspectives. And I think you were talking about again the concept of any technology being both a tool and a weapon, and how the exponential growth kind of shift things around. And the way I think about it, and I would like your opinion on this, like if we look at any technology that is going on right now, let's say social media, it started, like you said, with good intentions, right? And at some point down the road, it was intended by these teams to introduce psychology and, to bring people to the groups, to manipulate users and to use users as the selling point or the data. If this seems to continue to happen, and it has happened since the beginning, what is it then that is, why do we continue to do this when we know this is the pattern? As humans, we look at AI, and as you said, in 2016, all these ideas of developing ChatGPT and all these concepts came along. We were just reading the lecture from this session. These articles are from 2018, and they talk about all these concerns about, genderizing technology and adding these anthropomorphic features. And that's what's happening right now, 6 years later. We knew about this, we were concerned about this, but it wasn't enough for us to say, you know what, we're seeing these issues, maybe we should do something. And it appears to me that no matter what happens in history, we continue to do that. Is it just the financial, motivation? Is it just the power and control? What do you think it is?
Very good question, Patricia. I think it's a combination, it's a combination of things. It depends. But I think, as you said, we have been always exploring. And every technology we explore, sometimes we tame it. And then, as you said, social media has a lot of benefit. I mean, I'm on YouTube all the time. You can listen to amazing stuff or misinformation or some garbage, so the challenge with this, I think, in electronics, we have concept of signal to noise ratio. I think usually you have to really find signal, and it's very hard because noise would just completely collapses things. So you have to really start looking at how do I get rid of this noise to find the signal. And I think we are entering that era that there is so much garbage. Like even if you look at from news sources, I mean, just try to find something which is truth. It's just a lot of work. But no matter, what your background ideology is, just you want to find out what this person said, you have to search a lot of data to find the reality. So why we continue, I think is the human thing, in my opinion, because we are driven. Like we are the only animal that understands that we're going to die someday. And then that immortality, we are after it. And then understanding what's going on. Like, are we in a simulation? Are we this? Are we that? What the hell? I mean, this entire universe, we are sitting here. What the hell is this for? And I think those questions are driving us in the thing. So, like, for example, if you look at Elon Musk, you like him or not, I think if you look at the companies he's doing, one is, maybe software. Let's say Tesla is a software company. Then you have the brain implant for connecting. So people who are paralyzed and all that. That's the first phase. But right now we have ChatGPT like assistants. But then if you have brain interface, you just have fully integrated then, and then what happens there? Education, everything turns upside down. So that's the reason I thought the way to look at ethics is to look at tools and weapons and creative destruction. And that's continuing. I don't see it slowing down. Now it's accelerating, And I think, it's a very well balance of keeping our balance. So far we have done. We may look at today and say, oh, it's a chaos, everything is falling apart and all that, just because information is coming, a lot of garbage. But if you look at it, we are well off. Hospitals are better than any time we can do. I've done 2 life-threatening surgeries, otherwise I wouldn't be here to boring you guys, So there's a lot of good things happening and as a result of it. But it's so much noise that is not seen. But we are living in an amazing time, in terms of food sources, if was of this, and a lot of noise, which is information. I don't know if, and I saw a paper from Yuval Harari in one of your listing. He came up with a new book called Nexus. If you have a chance to read it, I think it's a perfect analysis of what's going on today.
Next question from Nate.
First of all, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm curious. We've talked a lot about the success stories and what sort of the products, the services, whatever that is able to disrupt and be successful. We haven't talked a lot about the ones that don't make it, or in other words, the noise in the signal. How does the noise shape the disruption or yeah, can you talk a little bit to that?
Sure, yeah. Do you have any a specific example in mind in terms of technology?
First one that comes to mind is maybe Google Glass.
Okay.
That one's not really around much anymore. Google's decided not to move forward with that project, and I wonder what kind of lasting effects these temporary things that kind of come and go and no longer move forward, how they still have an effect or shape
Yeah, yeah.
what goes forward.
That's right, yeah. So you see, like, the creative destruction, the base of it is technologies that completely change the way we do things. For example, you see, even if you go, I don't know, thousands of years back, there was always somebody comes into somebody's hut, there was always a door because of privacy. And then there was something that people, bang and says, okay, I'm here, can you let me in? So if you look at technology, then it became, doorbell, ding, ding, and then now it's, a device from, let's say, Google or Amazon, monitoring device. So the way I look at those technologies, uh, sometimes the innovation piece comes out, and innovation piece has two impacts, either positive or negative or both. You see what I mean? So once the example you gave is very good, Google Glass, I think if you look at it, we are looking for how can we get to VR, AR? How can we get this information? I don't know if you looked at, unfortunately, Terminator movies, always seen as extreme negative. But if you guys recall, when he ran, there was always a display said, this person's name is this, I'm here, and gave a lot of information. So I think in our back of mind is one of the wish of Mightest Touch right now is, wow, if I had a display technology that I didn't have to do this and look at things, I could have just said, it showed up. I'm looking at you. I could have said, oh, Nick. Then it would have told me through all the web, oh, Nick is this. Nick works here. Nick is that, is that. Imagine I get all that information while talking to you. So I think this is like the dream. Google Glass was the product ideas to achieve that dream. And as you clearly said, failed. Now, the Apple Pro, I don't know, Apple Vision, another one failed. Facebook with Ray-Ban is making cool glasses. I think it's gonna fail. So then you have this search, what technology maturity hits it? And if you go back, for example, again, age, I can go back. If you go back to 1996, there was something like iPhone, but you could write with a pen, very cryptic. I forgot what it was called. First, a smart something, but it wasn't connected to anything because there was no technologies to connect it. So you took notes and all that. Oh, Palm Pilot.
Palm
Thank
Pilot,
you,
yeah.
Ryan. Thank you. So you see, these things. So that was first manifestation of some need. And then technology was, iPad is the same. I forgot who, Newton or something came up, was a flop because the technology wasn't ready. So if you look at technologies, in my opinion, the way I look at it, like imagine you just, it's like a lottery system. You put your hand in something, you pull something out. That's an innovation. Now, sometimes we call it a white innovation. It's like social media. We say, wow, it's so good. It's gonna connect. You see, like if you look at Zoom, this is an amazing opportunity for me to see you guys, hear you guys, and you hear me. So amazing. We couldn't do this otherwise, isn't it? So that's really positive. Now, you could do a lot of negative things with this as well. So that technologies, I gave you one example of a ship that went transatlantic. It's very positive until it got there. It completely destroyed some cultures because they couldn't compete, good or bad, doesn't matter. It's just that just couldn't integrate, compete, or whatever you want to call it, coexist. Then it got destroyed.
Okay, next question from Peterson. Keep it brief.
Yeah, okay. So thank you for the presentation, Professor. You talk about immortality, so we search for technological stuff. I was thinking about, for example, philosophers and, for example, musicians like Beethoven, Socrates. They are kind of immortal too, because you talk. They have 1,000 years, hundreds of years, and we talk today. So I'd like to hear from you. What do you think about this kind of maybe bridge between this kind of humanity and technology? So in your opinion?
Yeah. No, it's a very good question. I think there is a great paper. I will send it to Dr. Chandra. It says, what really motivates us? And then it's amazing because it's not the money or anything else, it's achievements. It's number one. Number two, connections with other people. Number three is like recognition, like what motivates us. And then there's a bunch of other stuff, environment and all that, way down. So I think that's the key. I give you one example. You see, right now in Silicon Valley, there is a bunch of very rich people. I mean, they're talking about 10 billion, 20 billion, 50 billion, net worth. They are in their 70s, a bit ahead of me. So what do you think they are worried about? Isn't it? So all that money is going to biotech because they want kidney transplant, they want this, they want that, they want early detection of any cancer, they want to do this, they want to do that. So I think always I look at the market needs and then technology development. So if you look at that, where the money goes, I showed you AI with genome, it's basically like a no-brainer. It's a lot of money going to that. Early detection of anything and being able to increase life expectancy to 150 years, 200 years, whatever the number is, that is healthy, not like, in a coma state.
Any more questions today? Okay, there's no more question. I really like your presentation, Hojjat. Every time I listen, I learn new thing. I really like the loop, what you did with disruptive technology, ethic, and then go the loop. I never thought about it, to be honest with you. And yes, on behalf of the student, thank you so much for your lecture.
Thank you.